Hello, and welcome back to the Sports Lab podcast. As you can see, it looks a little different for me. I'm currently on my phone because I'm an idiot and forgot to charge my computer. But joining me is my co-host Thomas Bailey, as we got a lot of NBA and NHL to get into. Obviously, it's been an eventful past week the two finals series ended with Florida beating Edmonton in six, and the Pacers winning, or the Thunder winning in Game 7 yesterday, or not yesterday, Sunday, my bad. And then it's an eventful next couple weeks for both sports as the offseason kicks into full effect. The draft's coming up for both, free agency. It's going to be, if you're an NBA or an NHL fan, just because the finals ended doesn't mean news stops. It's going to be pretty busy for all 32 or 30 teams in both leagues. But I'm going to start off with the finals that just ended as the Oklahoma City Thunder win their first title in Oklahoma City, taking down the Indiana Pacers 103-91 in Game 7 to win. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was named Finals MVP, and prayers up to Tyrese Haliburton, who it is confirmed that he tore his Achilles. You could tell right when he went down. I was at my friend's house, watched the video. As soon as I saw him go down, I went like, I want to see the replay. I looked right at his calf. You could see that thing shake, and you knew that it's a ruptured Achilles. You can tell almost every time, and it was so sad to see because he was putting on a masterclass. He like three straight deep logo threes to start the game. It was going to be looking like it was going to go down as an all-time great game. He was going to go crazy, and it was so unfortunate that happened. But what are your thoughts on the finals as a whole? How do you think it went?
I'm a little mad at the ending. Obviously, with Haliburton getting injured, it could have been so much better than it was. And to see that the score was 103-91 at the end, you're telling me Haliburton couldn't have at least gotten him 12 more points. I feel like they could have definitely been there at the end if Hallie did play. And that's not to discredit the rest of the Pacers team, but we all knew it from the entire postseason, from the beginning all the way till the end, that it was Haliburton who carried this team to this spot. And that's not to discredit the players like Siakam or the guys like Turner or even the other players like Nesmith and Nembhard, who also showed up in big moments as well. And then obviously Benedict Mathurin can show up when he wants to. He's a really good free throw shooter. He gets to the line often. He's a very physical guy too. And so having those kinds of players on this team was what made this team so generationally good. And I think that that's something that a lot of teams are going to see this offseason is the increase in depth overall. We are already seeing it with a bunch of teams, obviously, the big trades that are happening, those kinds of moves. But it's all about depth in today's NBA. It's not about the starters. It's not about the guys that are going to be in. It's more so about who's going to be able to control the floor once the starters are out of the game. And obviously, for the Pacers' sake, that is something that happened for them the entire postseason. It's the reason they got all the way to the NBA Finals, Game 7. And it wasn't for Tyrese Haliburton popping his Achilles into an absolute fucking unit of a socket. Like, we're talking about potentially an NBA championship from the absolutely amazing depth that this team built from the starting caliber players like the Siakams and the Haliburtons. And it's unfortunate, yes, sure. And the one thing that really kind of makes me mad, and this is coming from a Knicks fan who was pissed off about the Reggie Miller chokehold thing.
Oh, that was elite.
The only thing for me, man, like, this is coming from a Knicks fan. I'm sad because I feel like the Thunder team is going to be able to get back here. As for the Pacers, I don't know. Like, I think Indy's a good team, and I do think that they're going to compete for many years. I'm just saying that at the same time, you're going to have to deal with the Celtics eventually, even with these trades that they've been making recently, which we'll get to. But with Jason Tatum being out next year, sure, you might have another chance maybe next season. But after that, like, you're going to have to deal with the Celtics. You're going to have to deal with the Knicks. The Magic just made a big trade. They might be on the up and coming. Even teams like the Hawks are only going to get better with their young guys, Trae Young and Rissachar. And then obviously going out and getting Porzingis earlier today as well, which could very much so help the team. So those kinds of teams on the up and coming, you got obviously the Detroit Pistons. If Milwaukee keeps Giannis, who knows? There's a bunch of teams, the Cleveland Cavaliers as well, that could still compete for an NBA championship from the Eastern Conference. And I like this team. I think that they just had so much luck involved, though. And you're not going to get that kind of luck next year. And that's that's sad to see, especially when you look at it from the Thunder's point of view. You got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's going to be here for a long time. You got Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams as well as amazing players on top of him. And then you also have the depth of the Alex Carusos and those other guys, the role players that help with the team as well. Isaiah Joe, for example. And those are the guys that are going to help you win the championships in the years in the future and stuff like that. Even in a deep Western Conference, to see them make it out this year, it shows so much hope for a team that's so young, that's so promising for the future years. And on the other side, Indiana, it's interesting. So I guess my total thought process on this is it's so sad to see the game end in such a dumb way, to see it not be really fair at the end, especially after the amazing run that the Pacers were on, and then also to see that this might be their only chance at getting to hoist the trophy for the first time in franchise history.
Yeah, I was definitely rooting for the Pacers. I thought the Thunder would win. I thought this was going to be a much closer series to start than a lot of people. Everyone's like, oh, Thunder are going to sweep, or oh, Thunder in 5. I'm like, no, I think it's going to be a tight series. I had Thunder in 6, so even I didn't think it was going to be this close. But, yeah, I mean, you put the nail right in the head there with Indiana's run. I'm not going to say it's fluky. Like, they deserved it, but it was lucky. Tyrese Haliburton was on, like, the clutchest run of all time statistically. Like, they had multiple, 8-point comebacks in the last 30 seconds of the game. Those are they're very rare.
They're literally the only team in NBA history to have one player hit a game-winning shot in each round of the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
In the same postseason.
Or like Aaron Nesmith having 16 straight, what was it?
6.
18 straight points, 6 straight threes to really bring the Pacers back in game 1 against the Knicks for Haliburton to even hit that shot. Like, just things like that just don't happen all the time. Unlike the Thunder, who they were the most dominant team in the regular season, and then they didn't look that way in the playoffs. Their youth kind of showed it, and then they were still able to win the championship. And they have multiple picks in basically every year for the next 8 million years because Sam Presti just hoards them all. They were the youngest team in the league entering the year. So they're only going to get better. They're obviously going to be able to keep on to their star players. Yeah, they're going to lose role players here and there, but they have so many picks, they're going to either draft and replace them, or they can trade a first-round pick, like a first in like 2 seconds every single year, to go and get a couple depth players and it not really affect them at all because they have so many assets. Like, they legitimately could go on a dynasty run. Like, and out of just pure homegrown build, it's pretty impressive. I will give Sam Presti his flowers. What a job he has done with that rebuild. One of the best rebuilds in recent memory of any sport. It might be, you can make an argument, the best. I'd still probably give the edge to the Celtics because they've had the prolonged success of it. The way they were able to go from one core to in a couple years to the next core and be able to dominate like that, just like the Celtics. Early 2010s was the KG Paul Pierce, and then by the mid-2010s, they were already back in the Eastern Conference Finals with Isaiah Thomas, and then went right into Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. But again, this is one of the best rebuilds in recent memory of any sport, and it's impressive to see. I'm not saying they're going to just go win a bunch in a row because the West is so deep. The East is getting better. Maybe not so much this year with all the injuries, but I definitely wanted to see the Pacers win, so that injury was definitely upsetting. But the Thunder deserved it. Anyone saying it was a hospital ring and they're frauds and it doesn't matter, you're stupid and you're talking out of your ass and you have no basketball knowledge at all. Injuries are part of the game. Moving on, we have the NHL Finals as Florida wins back-to-back against Edmonton, this time in 6 games. Sam Reinhart painfully scored 4 goals in Game 6 to clinch it for Florida. I'm saying painfully because I'm a Sabres fan, and we drafted Sam Reinhart, then we re-signed Sam Reinhart, and then we traded Sam Reinhart to Florida, and in all of that time, still haven't made the playoffs. While they've won back-to-back cups, it's just awesome. Hey, thank you, Kevin Adams. You suck. I hate you. Anyways, what are your thoughts on the finals?
Obviously, I'm happy for Reinhart. You know, I loved Reinhart so much. He was one of my favorite players on the team, and I'm always going to root for somebody, even though he's not on the team anymore, other than obviously guys like Jack Eichel who actively booed our fan base, who wasn't even the problem.
Fuck you, Jack Eichel.
I don't blame Jack Eichel for wanting to leave Buffalo, but after you left Buffalo to completely just destroy the fan base when
That's
it wasn't
exactly
their fault is the only reason I will not like Eichel. But everybody else I do like. Reinhart won't speak publicly like that about us in a bad way. And I do really like Sam Reinhart. And funny enough, 2014's draft class, the first three draft picks were all in the Stanley Cup Finals this year. It was
First four.
First four, yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah, because you got Ekblad, obviously, you got Reinhart, you have Draisaitl,
Sam Bennett,
and then you got Sam Bennett. So, interestingly enough, there. So,
before I need to remember to mention, Sam Bennett won the Conn Smythe.
Yes, he did win the Conn Smythe. See, I honestly think that it's well deserved. I see a lot of backlash from people, and it's like almost like the Andre Iguodala kind of deal, where like he won the NBA Finals MVP, and a lot of people were giving him backlash with a team like Curry and KD and all that around him and stuff. So I don't know how to feel about it. I personally like it. I think that it's a good thing for Sam Bennett in his career. Obviously, the whole speech, I ain't fucking leaving. You gotta love that from a guy like him. And then I really do like this team. I think Florida's doing everything right. Bless you. I think that Florida's just doing everything you need to do to rebuild. Obviously, being able to go from last year, moving off the contracts of guys like Larson and Oliver Ekman-Larsson and those kinds of guys, and being able to rebuild the core with now Seth Jones, just throw him in there because why not, and Marchand. So to be able to just kind of go from one core to the next core like you were talking about with the Celtics and just do that within literally one trade deadline is just absolutely elite from Bill Zito, and then just continuously being able to keep everything going in the right direction for the team. They have prospects. It's not like it's the end of the world. The only thing I would be worried about right now if I'm a Florida Panthers fan is a goaltender past Bobrovsky, but obviously that's still probably 3, maybe even 4 years down the line. So you have the chance to go out and draft somebody to replace him. I would personally like to get like a George from one of these draft classes coming up, but we'll see what happens with that situation. Obviously, I'm nitpicking here, though. The Florida Panthers are back-to-back Stanley Cup champs for a reason. They're a really good hockey team. Unfortunately, filled with some old Sabres players, unfortunately enough. But
want to add to that pain. I recently saw an old report back when we hired. I think it was when we hired Jason Botterill when we were searching for the GM at that time. Wano was someone who we interviewed for the GM position.
Oh, no. Bill Zito? Sure, he wouldn't have traded Sam Reinhart for Devin Levi.
Well, hey, Yuri Kulich also, but yeah.
Yeah, but still, not worth it. Not worth it.
Ugh.
I do feel happy for Reinhart, though. Congratulations on another Stanley Cup to them. And for whatever fucking weed I was smoking when I said that the Oilers were going to win in 7, I don't know. It's just they're healthier than they were last year. Obviously, Hyman's a good player, but Draisaitl's so much better than him. And to have Draisaitl instead of Hyman, I thought that if they got to 7 and it being at home, they would have won. I didn't calculate that Stuart Skinner is an absolute pumpkin in between the pipes.
Yeah, why didn't you account for that? He is.
Because the stats, man, the stats of him after losing in this year's postseason, the game after he lost, he was 4-1 this postseason.
Well, Calvin Pickard started Game 5.
He did?
Yeah, that's where I think you got confused.
I don't know. It's still so annoying though, because obviously I would like to see Edmonton win. If there's any Canadian team that I have a soft spot for, it's either the Oilers or, by the grace of God, would be Winnipeg. I like those two teams. They're the only two that I actually kind of remotely like. I don't really care about
just
Calgary.
Edmonton for me.
Ottawa's in our division. Toronto's in our division.
Boo, Toronto, boo.
And then Montreal's in our division too. So it's like the only ones I could care about are like maybe Calgary, Edmonton. I mean, I don't mind Vancouver either. I feel bad for Vancouver. They've never won a cup either. So I feel a little bit of remorse for Vancouver. They're not the end of the world. I used to love the Sedin brothers as a kid, so I guess
I feel bad for people living in Canada because that means you have to live in Canada.
The 51st state. But
Yeah.
I do think that a Canadian team should win the cup soon, though. I really do wish that
L,
could have happened this
USA
year.
on top.
The Oilers would have been a pretty good team to have it happen with, too, especially for McDavid's legacy. I hate the whole bullshit that because McDavid hasn't won a ring, he can't be in the GOAT conversation. I think McDavid's easily still the best player in the world of hockey right now.
I don't think he could be in the GOAT. See, I don't think he could be in the GOAT conversation just because Wayne Gretzky is ranked.
Is insane.
What Wayne Gretzky did, and the points records alone is crazy, but that was also due to a time when like the higher scoring and like worse goaltending. For me, it's the fact that didn't he win like 8 straight MVPs to start his career?
Something like that.
Like everyone was dealing with these like weak goalies, and he dominated more than everyone. Like I think he won like 8 the first 8 years and like 9 out of his first 10, and won 4 cups. Like I get he had some great players around him, but I think it's more so a battle for number 2. Maybe, but I think McDavid will be top 5 by the time he retires, but it's going to be really hard for him to be 1. I mean,
oh, yeah, that's true.
Or even 2 ahead of Lemieux, because, I mean, the numbers Lemieux put up was also insane.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like, obviously, the whole case right now with McDavid is
he doesn't have a ring, yeah.
Which is dumb to me, but at the same time...
Not his fault. Edmonton's never been able to find a goalie or a defenseman who can actually play defense. Like, I love Evan Bouchard, but, like, bro's worse than Owen Power and Bowen Byram combined.
I like Matthias Ekholm too, but fucking can't play defense. Yeah. And it's just like they go out
and they're giving Darnell Merson $9 million a year, and he's a bum.
Yeah, and then on top of that, everybody keeps mock trading them Erik Karlsson. Oh yes, because the last thing they need is another offensive defenseman.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'll definitely solve their defensive issues. Why don't they
guys, hear me out. What if we trade for John Gibson? Oh, you know what? I think that Devin Levi kid's pretty cool. The Sabres guys always win the cup.
What if we signed Robin Leonard?
Yeah, oh my god. Yeah, right. Bring back Jonas Enroth.
The corpse of
Michael Neuvirth. Marty Brodeur at 48.
Yeah.
Kevin Weeks, get him out of the booth.
Let's go bring Marty Baron.
No, right? Literally, bro. I can't stand it though, dude. Like Edmonton needs a goalie, and it's sad to see them losing in the Stanley Cup Finals back-to-back years. But at the same time, I don't feel bad for them as much as I would in other years because they lost last year because they had the lack of goaltending. They could have fixed it this offseason. They could have fixed it at the deadline. They chose not to, and they're reaping what they sowed right now because they didn't change anything other than a little bit more on depth. They had a little bit more depth this year than they did last season, but they still lost in less games. And to that, I say, sorry, Edmonton, but I don't feel remorse for your team or your GM at this point. You guys, the only one on that team I feel bad for, there's 2 players, and it's Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid because it's not their fault. They don't make the choices.
Nick Draisaitl
does that, but that's what I said, Draisaitl and McDavid.
Well, I just like to combine them and just call them McDraisaitl.
McDraisaitl. Yeah, it's sad. We'll see what
happens.
US
and the United States, we got McDonald's. In Canada, they just have McDraisaitl.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's my thought process, though.
Yeah, for me, Florida's just gonna be. They're talking about OKC being a dynasty. Florida's in the middle of being one already. I mean, because they have 3 major free agents. They're probably going to somehow swindle away to bring back all 3. Literally, players are forcing their way to Florida. That's what Marchand was. He's like, only send me to Florida. And then he'll probably go and sign a $3 million contract. He's already rich enough. He already has a Hall of Fame career. Might as well go enjoy yourself in South Beach and win a couple more cups, or a chance to. Yeah, he's going to go sign cheap. Bennett will probably sign cheap. And also the no state tax, so they're actually making more of that money. Yeah, Bennett's going to sign cheap. Ekblad will probably sign cheap. They'll probably bring them all back, and then next year they'll be just as good. And it's going to be just so frustrating. I
think the only one they won't bring back is Ekblad.
I think Ekblad's the least likely, but Ekblad has said he wants to stay in Florida. It's just, can they make the money work out? I don't know if they can.
I don't think they can.
Well, it depends
on
how much.
At least 10.
Who's giving him 10?
I think that I could see 3 teams doing it right now.
I don't see him on the open market. I don't see him getting more than 8 or 9, but I could see him taking 5 or 6 to stay
I
in
could see
Florida.
a team overpaying, and it's a team that honestly should be.
I think giving him 9 is an overpay.
But
I think his value is like 7.58. He's just coming off a PED suspension.
Well, yeah, I get that, but you got to think about this, man. Like the salary cap's going up by like $20 million this offseason. That like, you can afford to give him the extra $2 million in order to beat a team out for him, especially these teams with a fuck ton of cap space, like the Sabres, for example. Which obviously I know we won't do it. No, I know. I'm saying.
Why would you think? They're too cheap to even buy out Matthias Samuelsson. Why do you think they go overpay $1 million to go and get an actual good player? That doesn't make any sense. They're going to go and get Connor Clifton 2.0 and more Jordan Greenways and say, oh, look, we fixed our bottom pairs. Oh, we're going to make a run. Maybe, no, what they'll do is they'll bring back Dominic Hasek to be the goalie to try and get some nostalgic fans to buy back in. Ryan Miller, come aboard, because all they care about is nostalgia, not actual goodness. Like,
Timothy Liljegren, welcome to the Buffalo Sabres. Breaking news, the Buffalo Sabres have traded a 4th-round pick and this year's 1st-round pick, 9th overall, to the Edmonton Oilers for Darnell Nurse. We would do it.
I hate, like...
The Sabres are also not getting any salary retention on the deal from either player, and they're retaining half of Matthias Samuelsson's contract on the way back to Edmonton. I'd lose it.
You know how some people are like, they say about a person, like, oh, they can't make me hate you? I'm the opposite. Kevin Adams, you can't make me like you. I hate you. You're a bum. You suck. And
the
Terry,
Sabres trade
the
6 first-round picks for Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, we got to move this episode along. So we're going to go into some NBA talk. Then we'll get into our Sabres talk / rant or whatever we end up saying, because we're pissed off, annoyed Sabres fans. And then again, there's not a Sabres fan who isn't pissed off and annoyed at the team. So, but anyways, over the last 24 hours, there's been a couple of like pretty sizable NBA trades. I think trades is what's going to make up most of this offseason, especially the Giannis saga. If he says he wants out, well, that'll go crazy. I mean, the KD one just happened. We haven't even talked about the KD. So there's 4 of them. I completely forgot about the KD one. So there's 4 trades. The first one being, I'll just name them off, and then we'll go in order from when they happened in chronological order. But we're gonna start. So the Kevin Durant got traded to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and pick 10. That was on Sunday. And then last night, Drew Holiday got traded to the Portland Trailblazers for Anthony Simons and 2 second-round picks. And then earlier today, CJ McCollum and Kelly Olynyk were traded to the Washington Wizards and a second-round pick for Jordan Poole, Saddiq Bey, and a second-round pick. And then just about an hour and a half ago, Kristaps Porzingis, involved in a 3-team trade, got traded to the Atlanta Hawks with a second-round pick. Then the Atlanta Hawks attached their pick 22 to the Brooklyn Nets to get off Terrence Mann's contract so they could afford Kristaps Porzingis. And then in return, the Celtics got Georges Niang and a second-round pick. All right, we will start with the Kevin Durant trade. What are your grades and quick analysis?
See, I think that KD makes a lot of sense for a team like this. They're a young team, and this is exactly what a lot of people were saying about the Thunder last year, was they need a veteran guy to come in and play the position that he needs to play. Obviously, they went out and got an Alex Caruso, which you wouldn't say is an elite white ball player.
But it's more of what the play they needed, because they had the superstar. They needed the veteran role player.
And see,
the Rockets have the role players. They need the veteran superstar.
Right, exactly. And I think that the Rockets are in a team positioned to be able to give that up. Jalen Green hasn't really developed nearly as well as they wanted him to. Dylan Brooks is a solid player, but obviously when you're getting KD in return, you're not going to care. And then obviously that 10th overall pick's another really big asset to give up. But at the same time, what's the difference between?
They already have a bunch of them. They already have
Exactly.
a
They
bunch
have
of
a
players
bunch of
drafted in that area.
picks. They've already got the young guys. Let's go get a veteran to help lead this team in the playoffs when the time matters the most. I think this very much so reminds me of almost like the Jimmy Butler trade. Just obviously the Warriors are a little bit older, no doubt. But
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot more sense like this and stuff. I do think that it's a good trade. I'm gonna give it I'll say like an A minus from the Rockets side. I think that the 10th pick is a little bit high, but at the same time, you gotta take a shot when you can take one, especially considering the turmoil here. And I do think that there's potential for this trade to blow up in their face a little bit, just because it is KD. You know, he's not exactly the least headache bound player in the league.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really like the trade for the Rockets. I think it fits what they need, so I'll give them an A minus. And then from the opposite side here, Phoenix. I think this is everything you need and then some. You're getting the young talent in a Jalen Green who really needed a change of scenery. You're getting a decent Dylan Brooks that you can probably. I would say they should trade Dylan Brooks to try and
They're
accumulate.
already looking to trade Jalen Green, apparently.
Yeah, so maybe they're going to trade one of them, keep the other. I like that approach from them. Think that that's going to be the best move for them. And after that, you're getting the 10th overall pick as well, which is going to be able to help you if you want to make a move up into the draft a little bit higher. I know there's players out there like Ace Bailey who you could really take a swing at, who a lot of people are apparently thinking are better than Cooper Flag. I've seen reports that they even like players like Dylan Harper, those kinds of things too. So we could see what they do with that situation. But to be able to kind of have that flexibility to do whatever you want, get off the headache that is KD as well. I really like it from their perspective as well. I think this is pretty even trade, but because you're getting a player like Jalen Green who's not fully developed, you're getting a Dylan Brooks who's interesting. He's a decent player and he's not that great. And you're getting 10 in one of the weaker draft classes after about the top 5. So unless you trade up into the top 5, I don't really like this draft too much. Is a pretty weak class for all metrics. So because of that, I'm going to give it a B plus. No, I'm knocking it down to a B. I think it's a decent trade for the Suns. I think they had to do it, obviously, but it's a little underwhelming.
Yeah, I kind of agree. My grades are a little bit different for Houston. I'll give it a B plus. I think KD's the perfect fit. I think you desperately needed a veteran scorer who can go and get his own bucket because last year they had an elite defense. They were a deep team. They just didn't have a player that could take over the game and get him a bucket consistently. It would be maybe it was Fred VanVleet one night. Maybe it was Jalen Green one night. Maybe it was Alperen Sengun. They had a bunch of players that could do it, but not one you relied on. And in the playoffs, the Warriors kind of took advantage of that, and they just weren't able to score. Their offense was terrible. Now you get someone like KD. One, it's a veteran presence, could help someone like Amen Thompson continue to develop. And now you just have that guy you can go to in the fourth quarter. You need a big time bucket. You're in a tight game in the playoffs. He's your guy. And Jalen Green, while he started developing, he started like his rookie year wasn't great. The beginning of year 2 wasn't that great. He started to turn it on, and then this year he got even a little bit better too. And he was developing, but you're right. He never fully reached the potential people thought. The reason I don't give it an A is I do think it's a decent amount to give up for a 37-year-old who pretty sure it's basically a 1-year rental. If things don't work out, you gave up all that for a 1 year of Kevin Durant, and it's like you're not even the favorites in the West. Now I think you're probably a top 3 team in the West, but you're definitely not better than OKC right now. You could beat them, but you're not better than them.
And then on top of that, you don't have the center to match up with a team like Jokic, you know?
Exactly. I mean, Sengun's good, but he's not a defender. But, well, I mean, Steven Adams, but, Anyways, I give it a B+. And then for Phoenix, I actually give this an A- for them. I thought this was a great haul. I mean, Kevin Durant's 37 years old. He wants out. He's got 1 year left on his deal. It really diminishes the value of someone like him for his age and his contract and the headache he is and this, that, and the third. And the fact that they were able to get a promising young piece who they could then flip into more pieces and picks as they continue to try and rebuild / retool. Dylan Brooks is a great veteran glue guy. And then pick 10, I think this draft class is a little underrated. I mean, obviously the top 3 is really, really good. The top 5 is pretty good. It drops off a little, but I still think there's going to be quality players you can get at pick 10. And you could hypothetically trade up if you want to, or you could use pick 10 and trade down as ability to get off Bradley Beal's contract because they want to get off his contract. You know you're going to have to attach a pick to it. So that pick 10 might be a perfect way to be able to get off that contract and really kind of go through a rebuild. Now that you'll free up a lot of money being able to do that. So I really like the haul they were able to get for him. As we move in to the next trade, it happened last night. Brad Stevens, once again, absolute gem, trading away Kristaps Porzingis for Anthony Simons and 2 firsts. What are your thoughts on Jrue Holiday's deal?
I'm not going to lie to you, and it pains me to say this, but the Celtics won this trade by a lot, bro. They fleeced in this one. I mean, it's an expected trade for me. You know, like Holiday's an older player. He's not exactly the greatest guy. You know, like he's an okay player. He's not going to be the reason you lose, or he's not going to be the reason you win, you know. And because of that, I do think that he's a solid guy to go out and get. But he's going to do something that the Celtics needed him to do. With Tatum being out for so long, he sheds cap space, and a lot of it. And to be able to shed his cap space and not only not have to like attach like a couple first-round picks and then send him for some G Leaguer, you're sending him back for Anthony Simons, who, in my opinion, already is better than Jrue Holiday was last year. If you look at the numbers, bro, and I have the numbers pulled up,
Jrue Holiday definitely, but Jrue Holiday is all NBA, all defensive team, and Anthony Simons is all traffic cone team.
I agree with that part. But if you look at the numbers, 19.3 points to 11.1, 4.3 rebounds to 2.7 rebounds in favor of Jrue Holiday, 3.9 assists to 4.8 in favor of Anthony Simons, and then 0.9 steals to 1.1 steals in favor of Holiday. That's the thing, though, is for a team that's going to be without Jason Tatum, you're going to need somebody else to go out there and get you points. And that's exactly what they do with this trade. They go out and they get an Anthony Simons who can do that. And then if there's anybody that's going to be able to get you into a little bit more physical mindset, it's Joe Mazzulla. And because of that, I do think that he can help coach him. He's got an entire offseason to work with him. The chemistry can be there as well. I think that he won't be an amazing defender, but I think he can get up to at least the second, maybe even third step if he really puts in the work and works into the system with Joe Mazzulla. And I think that that's the kind of coach that Mazzulla is, that he's going to be able to get the most out of him defensively. And that might not be elite Jaren Jackson, you know, Jrue Holiday level defenders, those kinds of people, but it can be a decent guy. And he can be a two-way player, not fully, but he can be like 75% offense, 25% defense. And I think his ceiling there is not too bad, considering you're trading Jrue Holiday, who's beyond expensive compared to an Anthony Simons, who, even though Anthony Simons is on the last year of his deal. And you also get 2 second-round picks on top of that. You're not giving up 2 second-round picks. You're getting 2 second-round picks as well. And it's just like for Jrue Holiday, who's how old's Jrue Holiday now? 34?
35. He just turned 35.
35-year-old Anthony Simons is like 25, 26.
Yeah, I don't know his age, but he's pretty young.
He's a lot younger, so I really like it from their perspective. I'm going to give the Celtics an A in this trade, and then if I'm looking at the Blazers, I'm giving a big, fat C to this team. Why are you going after Jrue Holiday in this trade? That's the only thing I have a question about, is why. Why are you doing this? You didn't get a first-round pick. There's no reason behind it. You're in a rebuild. You're a team rebuilding. You don't need Jrue Holiday. You know, like, he's not going to be the difference maker that wins you an NBA championship, especially in the stacked Western Conference. You are easily bottom 5 in the conference. You're easily bottom 5 in the conference, even with this trade. And because of that, you're looking at a team in the Celtics who is obviously needing the money. Why didn't you take that and use that in a leverage situation? You should have been able to leverage a player like Jrue Holiday. Well, you need to get rid of him, so we can give you like nothing and you can send us Jrue Holiday. That I would have understood if it was like a second-round pick for Jrue Holiday. Straight up, that would make sense because you're getting a good player for not much. But you gave up Anthony Simons, who is still a decent ball player, especially for your offense. Your offense is going to take a huge hit next year. And I don't know what your thought process is here, but you're not going to, like, at best, you're a play-in team. At best, you're a play-in team. And that's saying a lot because There's still the Spurs, who are, if they're healthy, are going to be a good team. Rockets just got KD. Thunder just won the finals. Timberwolves were in the Western Conference final. The Nuggets have Jokic. They're always
Mavs getting Cooper Flag.
The Mavs are going to have Cooper Flag. They'll be right back in the mix for that. And then you also got a team like the Warriors, who's still going to be in contention.
The Lakers.
The Lakers, too, with Luka and LeBron having a full season together. John Morant still is on the Grizzlies. That can mean something.
Jaren Jackson Jr.,
and Jaren Jackson. I still think those two are better than anybody.
Sacramento's still
Sacramento's still a decent team with Sabonis and Levine. And if the only teams you can confidently say you might be better than are like who? Like the Jazz
and the Pelicans.
The Jazz,
and the Pelicans, if they're healthy, and the Pelicans, if they're healthy, I think are better than the Trailblazers. So yeah, the Jazz.
Literally, the Jazz is the only team you can confidently say. You can also say the Pelicans and the Suns are on that same level, maybe potentially.
Yeah,
depending on how good Debo plays.
But I mean, and also depending on what the Suns do with Jalen Green and how they. I think the Suns are going to be very active this offseason. If they're able to get off the Bradley Beal's contract, trade Jalen Green, and kind of retool themselves, a team around Devin Booker, I think they could go make a run. They're not make a run, but they could be a better team than Portland. It'd be a 500.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big problem here. And then on top of that, you're also not only are you doing that, but you're offering them a lifeline in the form of Simons, which obviously doesn't matter because they're in a different conference. But the thing is that really pisses me off is you're doing this to be aggressive. But why are you being fucking aggressive? You're the fucking Blazers, dude. You have nothing. You have who? Dennis Avita? You got him?
Scoot Henderson?
Scoot Henderson?
DeAndre Ayton? Yeah.
You guys aren't going to be that good, even with Jrue Holiday. You might be, at best, like a 35-win team. Maybe 40 if you get really extremely lucky. But you're not getting above 500. Even if you do make the playoffs, you're probably getting swept or losing in 5 games. And then what did you get back in return? Oh, nothing. Literally nothing. You took a team that was desperate to make a trade in the Boston Celtics and let them make the trade and fleece you single-handedly. It's literally like Missoula walked into the office with a gun pointed at his face and said, you're going to trade Jrue Holiday for Anthony Simons in 2 seconds, and you're going to like it. And it's just there was no pushback from this Blazers front office. And because of that, it's absolute blasphemy to me. So I you know what? I'm even going to go D+. I'm going to go D+ for this trade. You're way too aggressive for a team that's not going to be good regardless. And you didn't leverage anything back in this trade. You literally 1-for-1 swapped a player, and then you also gave up picks as well. As if you didn't need the picks. I don't get the thought process. So I hate this trade personally.
I find it so funny how Portland had Jrue Holiday 2 years ago from the Dame trade.
Yeah.
And they traded him for Brogdon and Robert Williams. And now 2 years later, when he's 2 years older, you trade for him back. When
the team's significantly worse. No more Lillard.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what they got for Lillard was Jrue Holiday. He was the center.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, that's true.
No, I get – yes. This is an absolute fleece by the Celtics. I'm giving this an A+ for Boston. They were able to get off Jrue Holiday's contract. I think the biggest part of this is the contracts. Anthony Simons making $25 million a year and is a free agent after this season. Jrue Holiday's making $35 million a year and has 3 years left on his contract. One of them being a player option, but at age 37, you'd be an idiot to not take that because he's past his prime. So, they were able to get off. Not only saved like $10 million this year, they saved like $35 million in the next 2 years, so they opened up a lot of cap space next summer, which is what they're trying to do. Get under the second apron this year, and 2, open up cap space next summer when you're going to have a healthy Tatum to go make another run for 2027. And you get back Anthony Simons, who I don't personally love. I think he is a decent offensive player. He could be he could be like a 4 on a championship team, a 3rd scoring option, 4th best player type thing. But what I like out of him the most is he's going to have a high usage rate this year without Tatum. He might be he'll probably be the 3rd highest use guy, maybe even 2nd, depending on what other trades happen. He'll probably get average 20 plus a game. If they keep Jaylen Brown, it could become more efficient since Jaylen Brown will take some pressure off of him. And then you raise his trade value at the deadline, you send him out, and you go get some first round picks or some young guys picks, and you go to a spot. I mean, $25 million, that's a tradable contract in this day and age to a team. And you go and trade
too.
Yeah, or you just go and get their expiring deals that where they add some picks. You go and get their crappy deals that expire after this year, and you get more picks. Then this offseason, you have all this opened up cap. You have extra draft picks. You're probably not going to be a great team this year. You might be a lottery team, and who knows? Maybe the NBA rigs it for Boston. I mean, they rigged the lottery. I mean, Wemby going to San Antonio, Flag going to the Mavs after they trade away Luka. Like, we know. So, I mean, Boston's a pretty big market. They definitely could rig it for Boston. So who knows? Maybe they could end up with a really high draft pick, which they could either draft a guy or trade. Or I just really love the direction that the Celtics know that they're not going to win next year. They have no chance without Tatum. Even if he comes back, I don't want him to rush him back. I want Tatum I want him out all of next year because I want a tank and I want him healthy. You don't mess with Achilles injuries. You don't rush him back because they can tear it again, and it's 10 times worse if they tear it a second time. So you're no chance of winning. You go and you get whatever you can for these players and shave the money, and that's exactly what they did. They were able to get 2 seconds and Simons. So yeah, A plus for the Celtics, and yeah, D plus D minus for the Blazers. The only thing that makes even any sense is you want a veteran presence for Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe to help them develop. But why are you giving up Anthony Simons and paying Jrue Holiday $35 million a year for the next 3 years to do that? That's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Like, no, that's dumb. It's a dumb waste of money. If you really didn't like Simons that much, you could have easily traded him somewhere else and got picks and then made a splash elsewhere to get a different veteran who, yeah, it makes no sense at all. So, yeah, absolute fleece by the Celtics. And then we get into, my opinion, the most puzzling trade, the CJ McCollum one. I did not expect this, and I really don't get it that much. But what are your thoughts on the trade?
So McCollum is an interesting player. You're also sending Olynyk and that second-round pick
and
to
the second-round pick swap, yeah.
Yeah, for Poole, though. Like, you're getting Poole back.
And Saddiq Bey, but Saddiq Bey's just
it's literally like Poole for McCollum, Olynyk for Bey, pretty much.
Kind of, yeah.
I still think Olynyk's a little bit better than Saddiq Bey. I think Bey still has potential, but not much of it left. I do think that if you're looking at this trade, this pretty much, like, I'm going to give both teams a C+. I don't see the vision here for either team trading for either one of these guys. Why not just stay put at that point? It's like that one meme where, like, you see the dark house down the way or whatever, and then you got like the sunny day or whatever, and then they like walk down
the path, yeah.
And they both get to the same spot anyway, and it's like they're both trading these players, and they're going to walk down the same path to like 10th in their conference at best, or like 12th or something. So it's not really a big trade. I do like Jordan Poole's fit with the Pelicans a little bit more than I like the fit of McCollum on the Wizards, just because McCollum doesn't really fit the timeline of the rest of that team, especially with Sarr. Felt like Jordan Poole definitely fit the team at least a little bit better. And then if you're looking at the Pelicans, if they can stay healthy, Jordan Poole at the shooting guard, and then you putting Zion Williamson out there obviously as well, I do think that the team could very well be decent. I just think that getting rid of McCollum's contract is probably a big thing for them, but I still don't think that either one of these – I don't really think either of them are that good. I guess my thought process here is just like the Pelicans are like, hey, do you want absolutely nothing for Jordan Poole? And they're like, yeah, you know what? Sure. It's just like I don't know why it's like that, but I guess that's what it was. So
the Pelicans call him up. You want Jordan Poole? The Wizards are like, how about we give you nothing? Sounds good.
Yep, let's phone it over to Adam Silver. I'll give it like a B- for the Pelicans, and I'm gonna give the Wizards a C. I just don't think this trade's a big deal. I don't think it's going to make either team significantly better, but I do think that the Pelicans won this trade. I wanted to change their grade just to let you know that I think the Pelicans did win this trade.
Yeah, so at first, I was just so confused. I was just like, why are the Pelicans doing this? And then you brought up the point of the getting off the CJ McCollum contract. So then I went and Googled their contract. Actually, Jordan Poole has a worse contract than CJ McCollum. They're making like similar money, I think. I think McCollum's actually making less than Poole, but Poole's got like 2 or 3 years left. McCollum's a free agent after this year. So actually, then I saw that. I love this trade for Washington. I give this an A. I'll give this an A minus. The reason I love this trade for Washington is you get off of Poole's bad contract, similar for when you traded away Kuzma to get Chris Middleton. Everyone's like, why are you trading for him? It's not the amount of money, it's when the contracts end. Chris Middleton's contract ends after this year, and so does CJ McCollum. So they got 1 year of each of those guys. At the deadline, they're going to suck. There's going to definitely be a team that wants McCollum and that wants Chris Middleton, contenders, maybe the Pistons at that point, or like a young team up and coming. They're going to want a player like that. They're going to give up some picks. They're going to give up some players. Then Washington trades both of those guys, and you get some more assets out of them. And then next offseason, you have a bunch of cap space to go and maybe finally start taking a step in the direction of contending. I mean, you are starting to see some of the young pieces come into place. Bob Carrington and Alex Sarr both looked very promising last year as rookies. You have, I think, the 5th pick in this draft, or the 6th pick. You have a pretty high pick in this draft. You're probably going to be bad again next year. Probably going to have a high pick next year. So that's another young. They're having some young guys that are starting to show through, and you're going to give them the playing time. They're going to increase their value. You trade away McCollum and Chris Middleton at the deadline. You go and get more assets. You load up on picks and young guys like they have. And the next offseason, you can start to be a little aggressive. I'm not saying you go all in. Wouldn't make any sense. You can start to assemble a lineup that can be a playoff contender, that can kind of make that push, can get them out of this rebuild. So I really like that direction. And then Kelly Olynyk's the same way. That's just another guy you'll probably trade at the deadline. I think his contract's up after this year also. Maybe not, but again, he's someone that gets flipped at the deadline almost every year, it feels like. I feel like he gets traded like he's been on like every single team. Oh, Kelly Olynyk got traded? Wow, what a shocker. It's almost like that happens every year, because it does. And
Kelly Olynyk sent for Kevin Durant and
Kelly Olynyk, right at the deadline, Kelly Olynyk will be sent for some G Leaguer and a second-round pick. And it's like, whatever, that's more picks for Washington. You just have as many picks and young guys as you can. And you see how it worked for the Thunder. I mean, obviously you're not saying they're going to be the Thunder, but that's kind of, when you're rebuilding, that's what you want. It's just many young guys, many picks as possible. And if only a couple of them hit, you're going to be good. And so I like that. And then for the Pelicans, I guess maybe they just thought Jordan Poole was better than CJ McCollum, and they liked how much younger he was. But I don't agree with that. I think CJ McCollum is better, and you only have 1 more year of it, and then he's a free agent after this year. You just trade away Brandon Ingram. I mean, I guess if Zion can be healthy, he could be a pretty good player, but
Poole does fit the Pelicans timeline pretty well.
I mean, I get Poole, DeJounte Murray as a backcourt, and then Zion, if he can stay healthy. You still got Trey Murphy. You have pieces they could make a push to be.
They still have a high pick too. If they can get a center, if they could get like Malawak.
Well, they have Yves Messi or whatever, who's a rookie last year and showed a lot of promise.
That's true.
But no, I get what you're saying. They could definitely make a push to be like a 7 or 8 seed. And they have some young pieces, and they were supposed to be a decent team last year until injuries killed them. I do get that, but I just don't think that this core has much contention. Like, if I was them, I would have traded away CJ McCollum. I would have just ran it through this year, maybe traded away non-expiring deals, or at the deadline you trade away McCollum for other expiring deals and picks or something like that. And then you just try and kind of retool around Zion and like Trey Murphy. And then in like 2 or 3 years, you hope to make a run when they're both in their prime. I just don't get the direction for them to add that money onto Poole, and you could have just got out from McCollum's contract. So, yeah, so I go A- for the Wizards and C- for the Pelicans. I think the Wizards won this trade for what they were achieving. If you look at it just pure on paper and like no context, I get how you can why they got the younger guy in Poole versus McCollum, but for what each team was trying to achieve, I thought the Wizards did a much better job. As we move into the final trade that is of recent memory, there'll probably be a lot more to announce over the next week and a half. It's going to be pretty crazy. We have the Kristaps Porzingis trade, and give me grades for all three teams for you.
See, for Boston, a lot of people are going to say, well, they only got George Niang and a second or whatever else they got. I think it
was just that.
Yeah, so they only get that, but they also move off the contract, which again, like we said with the Drew Holiday deal, that's what they're going to try to do this offseason. They're going to prioritize getting money. And obviously that's a big thing for them. I think Porzingis is a pretty good player, but at the same time, the Atlanta Hawks of all teams, like this is eerily similar to the Blazers deal, where you're letting the Celtics get off the trade, like trade for this guy, like trade this dude to get off the money without really leveraging the situation and realizing, hey, you really need us to do this for you, because if we don't, then you're just stuck with his contract. Yeah. And clearly they didn't really do that in this trade, considering they got George Niang in a second. Like, they didn't really not George Niang in a second, but
no, that's what the South. Oh, the Hawks got KP in a second.
Yeah, they got Kristaps in a second. So Tingus Pingus is now a Hawk apparently, which is interesting. I don't really care about this trade too much. I'm gonna say for the Hawks, this is a B. It's a solid trade. It's nothing mind blowing. You had the 22nd overall pick, which Kristaps is way better than anybody you're going to get at 22, especially in a pretty weak class, which I think it makes a lot of sense for them. The only thing that doesn't make sense is why are you trading for Kristaps Porzingis like you're about to go out and win the Eastern Conference next year? You're not. It's not happening. You got Trae Young, Risser, and him.
Jalen Johnson.
And sure, Jalen Johnson. Throw him in there.
Like, don't disrespect Jalen. He's like a 20-point-per-game scorer.
I like Jalen. He's just not defense. No defense. Same with Trae Young. The Hawks are one of those teams.
Kristaps and Dyson Daniels can play defense, though.
That's true, though. But the Hawks are one of those teams where they're going to put up 130 points and they're going to lose 136 to 130. That's just what it is. And it's how it's been with the Hawks for a while. Porzingis will help with that a little bit, sure. But I still don't think that they're going to be competing. I still think a team like Detroit would beat them in a playoff series. I think the Knicks could beat them in a playoff series. I do think that if Boston was healthy, they could win in a playoff series. I do think that Indiana would win in a playoff series. I think the Cavs would win. You know what I'm saying. And at that point, I do think that it's just really not going to move the needle. It's not going to move the needle for you. Don't really care. I'm going to give it a B for them. And then if you're the Nets, sure, you got Terrence Mann in Atlanta's 22nd pick. I think it's a solid trade.
They gave up nothing.
Yeah, considering they really didn't do anything other than just kind of trade for Terrence Mann's contract. Team that's not going to be good anyway. Or give it like a B plus. You get a first round pick out of it. Maybe you hit on it, maybe you don't. But obviously, getting the chance to hit on another pick is all that matters for a team that's rebuilding.
Or use it for trade up. They have 5 first-round picks in this class now.
Yeah, it's true.
They have like 8, 15, 22, 26, and 27. Our boy Caleb, he's a big Nets fan. He runs a podcast called Brooklyn Netcast. Guys, go check it out if you're into basketball Anyways, I know he's very happy about it. I follow him on Twitter, and I saw him post something. He's very happy with that trade because he just wants as many picks as possible to go make some trades to go and get.
I mean, it makes sense though. Makes sense. You're getting 22nd overall, and you're really not giving up anything. You're just eating the contract of Terrence Mann, who he's not exactly a good ball player, but at the same time, you're not going to be a competitive team next year, really, anyway. So why not just eat the money and take the picks? At that point. So yeah. I like it from their perspective. I'll give them a B plus, and then if you're looking at it from Boston, I give it like a B minus. Not the greatest return, but at the same time, you're giving up a huge contract. You're asking a team to do that. And it could have been a lot worse. You could have got like literally nothing, or you could have had to give up a first-round pick or something like that attached to the deal, like I said with Drew Holiday's deal. You didn't have to do that, so good on their GM for doing that. And I'll say like a B minus for them, a B for the Hawks, and then a B plus for the Nets. So decent trade all the way around, nothing too crazy, but I do think that if I had to pick a loser, just not necessarily now based off my grade, but just in general, I'd say it's the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, I thought everyone made out fairly well. Yeah, Kristaps is expensive and he's got the availability issues, but you did get off that Terrence Mann contract by only giving up pick 22, which isn't that valuable. And he was getting paid like 17 mil a year. I think Kristaps is at like 36, so you're really taking on like 20 mil of Kristaps deal. And I think Kristaps is a free agent after next year, while Mann has 3 years left on his deal. So I mean, it's like 20 mil the next 2 years you're eating more of, but then you're saving like 17 mil the year after. So, I mean, I ain't only giving up a second or and pick 22. I know that's pretty decent value because if Kristaps can stay healthy, which has been his entire career, it's if.
Believe me,
But
I
I
know.
mean, if it could ever happen, even if he only plays half the time, he is a great fit on this Hawks team. He's basically Quinn Capella, but can shoot threes, and he's that defensive anchor. He's much better than Capella is at this point. Capella's kind of got old and fell off. He's a free agent. Kristaps is the replacement, and Kristaps is an elite paint defender, and he can go out and guard on the perimeter. He's not great out there, but he's not like you're gonna be able to like totally dominate him. You're not gonna make him look a fool like Rudy Gobert. Like he is versatile. He can play out there, and then obviously he's a great shooter, which fits that offense a lot. People with someone like Trae Young and Jalen Johnson and Reece Shahir, you got some great 3-point shooters. You had Kristaps. You can run a 5 wide type offense, which really opens Trae Young to kind of. He's got great handles to make his move into the paint. Not many people be there with Kristaps sitting at the 3-point line. Kristaps can get rebounds too. So when he's on the floor, he's a great player. But at the same time, it's like, why are you making a trade like this? I thought it would have made more sense for them to like trade away Trae Young and try to rebuild, but they decided not to do that. And who knows? Maybe Kristaps stays healthy because if Kristaps actually like fully stayed healthy and Rishi Shear takes a step and like Trae Young and Jalen Johnson and like Dyson Daniels, they all like if the team stays healthy and Rishi Shear takes a step, I think they could legitimately be a contender to make it to the second round or even a conference finals. I'm not saying they're going to. This is all big ifs. So I see the vision, but at the same time, so yeah, I think a B is a good value. And then for Nets, I'm going to give them an A plus. They're getting pick 22, which they're probably going to use to trade up into the draft. They have pick 8, pick 15, and then 26 and 27, like I said. So if they want to move up from like 15 to like the 10ish range, maybe with Phoenix to 10. Phoenix is trying to trade out. They want more picks hypothetically because they have like no picks. They could you give them like 15 and 22 to get 10. Boom. And now you have 2 top 10 picks in this draft. You can go and get some guys that hopefully one of them hits to become a franchise guy and boom. And then yeah, you're not going to be competitive for a couple of years. You might as well eat that money while you have the money to spend it to pick up these picks. So I think it's A plus. They give up literally nothing and just got a pick 22 to eat the contract. And then for the Celtics, I'm also going to give them a B. Nothing spicy, but they got off that contract, basically swapped seconds and got Georges Niang, who is not very good at all, but he's probably someone you'd flip at the deadline to get another center round pick, which isn't much, but any pick can help when it comes to making a trade down the line for whatever player they want to do in 2027, 2028. I like the vision Brad Stevens has been on. He's kind of building for the future. This next year's a throwaway year without Tatum. And yeah, as we move on, so based on time, we're just going to quickly touch up a little bit on our favorite NBA teams, and we're going to get into the Sabres, and then we're going to skip on the free agent predictions. We'll just talk about free agency another episode. We're just not really going to have time for. We're already at an hour, so I'm going to toss it over to you. Is there anything you want to see the Knicks do this offseason? Any coaches in particular they want to hire? They've been talking to a couple, but they still don't have a head coach.
See, I don't even know at this point what we're going to do at head coach. I would like to get Mike Malone or Mike Brown. Those are the two guys I would consider personally. Obviously, I would like Jason Kidd the most, but that's just unrealistic as fuck to me. Obviously, like the Mavs have the first overall pick. They got Anthony Davis. He's been in the Mavericks organization for so long, played for the Mavericks, obviously. So Gaudy's going to leave. And then more importantly, though, for our own team right now, I think that right now, personally, I'd say Mike Malone would be my favorite option out of everybody here. He's got the young, offensive-minded guy. Thibs' defense was absolutely freaking terrible, so we can actually build off that, work on that. I also do like Mike Brown. I think that he's a little bit more of an underrated candidate for the next job, but I do think that he can do everything that we would need us to do for next year. And I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself by saying this, but Halliburton just tore his Achilles. Tatum's been out with a torn Achilles.
Dame's got a torn Achilles.
Winning the Eastern Conference isn't the end of the world to me. I think we could realistically win the Eastern Conference next year. I do think that that's a lot of people are like, yeah, right. It's the next. We're like the Maple Leafs, guys. If you're unfamiliar with basketball, we're like the Maple Leafs. We just can't get over the hump. But I will say, if there's a year, it would be next year because this Eastern Conference is not looking too hot. You still got good teams like the Pistons on the up and coming. You got the Hawks who could potentially compete, like you just mentioned. Cavs are still a very big threat as well. But outside of that, the Celtics just retooled like crazy. And the Pacers aren't going to have Halliburton for pretty much the entire season. So with those things being took into account here, I don't think that anything less than the conference finals would be a disappointment, to say the least, because I don't care who you sign as your head coach, and I understand it's a lofty goal for a first-year head coach, but
Mike Malone just won the chip 2 years ago, so he knows how to.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I kind of want Mike Malone is I don't care what we do in the regular season. We could be like a 50-win team, 45-win team as long as we get in. And then from that point on, I think we could easily run the table other than maybe the Cavs. I think that the Eastern Conference Final is going to be like the Knicks-Cavs, at least if I had to look at it right now.
Yeah, if I had to make it prediction right now, that'd probably be mine too.
So I just think that the Celtics are a good team, but without Tatum, they're not going to be able to keep themselves afloat without him. And then obviously Jaylen Brown's a good player, but he's not going to be able to shoulder the entire load. And then outside of them, you got some decent role players like Pritchard and Anthony Simons who you just traded for, but it's not going to be in anything crazy. George Niang's not dropping 60 points a night, like coming off the bench. So
he's gonna drop a triple single of like 5, 2, and 1.
Yeah, literally. You know what's going to happen? You guys are going to barely squeak into the playoffs. You're going to play like the Knicks in the first round, and George Niang's going to hit 3 threes in a row to win the game.
Or Tatum's going to come back and just go
6
crazy.
threes. 6 threes.
You'll be the 2 seed. The Celtics will be the 7. Tatum comes back and just drops his.
My thought process though is with a coach like Thibs, where he's not playing to win, he's just not playing. He's playing not to lose. A coach like Thibs, not a problem for most accounts, but when you got a coach like him and you were doing pretty good and you were pretty much a couple insanely lucky situations away from potentially winning that series against Indiana and being in the finals against the Thunder, I don't think it's an unrealistic thing to think that we could potentially be in the NBA Finals next year. I do think that if there's a team that's going to compete, it's the Cleveland Cavaliers, but if somebody else beats them or if we beat them, I really think that the Knicks could come out of the East. I'm not saying maybe win it all, considering the West is pretty stacked, but at the same time, they're going to have to go through a pretty big gauntlet to get to the finals in the first place. So who knows? I think that the absolute floor for the Knicks next season has to be at least a conference finals appearance. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no excuses. There's 2 teams in your conference right now that are probably the 2 best in the conference when fully healthy, and both of them are not fully healthy. You have to take control of the conference next year, and I mean that. You cannot let Cade Cunningham run through the conference. You can't let Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs make it through. You have to be that team to at least get to the conference finals, and if not, it's going to be a failure, and I'm going to be depressed as crazy because none of my teams can do anything. I'm a Mets fan too, fellas. We lost in the NLCS. So we've lost.
Syracuse Orange fan.
Yeah, 3 of my teams lost.
That one's on you. That one's on you for picking Syracuse, though.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't care that you live
3 of my teams lost in the conference finals this year of their sport, and the other one's the Buffalo Sabres. That's all I need to say. So, yeah, unfortunate year for sports for me, but Hopefully the
I've
next
had
team
back-to-back
keeps
years of one of my favorite teams winning the chip. Both of them in basketball, though, unfortunately.
At least one of
Like
them lost. The
I like
Yankees.
I like basketball, but like
It's my least
obviously
favorite too.
I was happy that like the Celtics and Gators won, but like yeah, I care more about the Yankees and the Sabres and the Gators for football and the
The
Bills.
Bills. Oh my
Like
god.
if DJ Lagway leads us to the championship for football, I'm gonna go nuts. I'm so excited for football season. But anyways, that's a
Someone's picked
topic
off by
for another. Shut up. That's a topic for another time. So yeah, I've already kind of talked a little bit how I want to see the Celtics attack this offseason. Tank. They have no chance of winning. The only two people that I really, really don't want. I mean, anyone is tradable. Obviously, besides Tatum, anyone is tradable for the right place. But the only two I really don't want to see go, which may come off as a little surprising, is Pritchard and Derek White.
Ooh.
And I'll get into why with Jaylen. I'm not saying I want Jaylen Brown to go, but I'll get into why with that in a second. Pritchard and Derek White are like perfect role players on a championship team. Neither of them need super high usage because they can shoot the ball really well. They're both hustle players. Like Peyton Pritchard, for his size, yeah, he's not a good defender, but he tries. He fucking puts in some hustle there. I've seen him at his size getting rebounds over centers and stuff like that. He really has some hustle to his game. And same thing with Derek White. And then Derek White obviously is an all defensive level guard. He's been all defensive the last couple of years in Boston. Leads guards and blocks every single year. It's just a great defender, and he's one of those guys that can get hot and take over a game and get you a 30-piece from three, being your third or fourth option, which is what you love. So I don't want to see those guys go at all. Now Jaylen Brown, I'm not saying trade it. If we bring back Jaylen Brown, I'll be happy. Jaylen Brown's a great player, but I've seen a lot of reports that people are sending crazy offers for the Celtics for Jaylen Brown. If the offer is nice, I mean, if the offer is nice enough, trade anyone. But like, if that offer is there, and you have
Giannis
ability
for
to
Jaylen Brown straight up.
well, not you would have it'd be the Celtics would have to give up more. But yeah, it'd be to get Giannis. Bye Jaylen Brown. You want me to pack your bags for you? Want me to? I'll hold the door for you on your way out. Like, see ya. Like that. That's a no brainer. But like, I'm saying like if you even trade, Kyrie Irving's declining his player option, and he's signing a 3-year, $119 million extension with the Mavs. Interesting. And we knew he was going to be back with the Mavs, but kind of took a little bit of a pay cut. It was a $43 million and 3 by 119. That's a little under. So it's like a $4 million pay cut. So
It's like 39 or something. 39.3.
I also just got an alert on the Yankees game that it's 3-3, so they were finally able to get after Chase Burns after 6 of their 7 first guys getting struck out. I was like, this is going to be bad, but I haven't seen what happened since then. Literally, it was the first 5 guys. He struck out the first 5 players in a row. Then Jazz was able to get a single, and then the next guy struck out. I'm like, well, at least Jazz got a single, so it wasn't as bad. But
Mets are on like a generational terrible run right now.
Yeah, but anyways, back to the Celtics. Like, if someone offers you like a package for like 2 quality young players and like 3 picks and maybe like a pick swap or something, I do it. You get off that $70 million contract, or like maybe like Phoenix hypothetically. Like they wouldn't have the picks. I was gonna say like a trade centered around Jalen Green, but I don't think they'd have the picks. I don't even know the exact team. I'd really have to look into it. What team could do? Personally, like San Antonio, I've heard talks. If we can trade to San Antonio and we can get like either pick two is what I'd want, and some players. But if we can't get pick 2, if we could get Steven Castle, Devin Vassell, and maybe like Keldon Johnson, and then like 3 picks, like Atlanta's first this year, I think it's like 12 or like I think
for
pick
just
12.
Jaylen Brown though.
Yeah, I mean Jaylen Brown's way better than those guys. But anyways, because then you would have a core of De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Jaylen Brown, and Wemby. That's disgusting. If they were able to trade for Jaylen Brown without giving up Dylan Harper, I'd say they're the best team in the league. Legitimately. I think because I think Wemby's a top 6.
They're getting Dylan Harper at 2 though.
Well, yeah, no, I'm saying, but like Dylan, you have a backcourt of Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox, and you have Jaylen Brown play the 3.
If they take Ace Bailey, bro, I wouldn't even be surprised.
Ace Bailey's been kind of falling lately because he's been kind of seemed as like cocky in the drag. He hasn't even taken workouts. He sees himself as only a top 3 pick and refuses to meet with other teams and isn't even working out for any team. And it's being a total head case about it. So I could see him falling because of things like, and that happens to players all the time in every league, in every sport. So, but I mean, that's just a hypothetical trade. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's definitely trades out there where I'd be like, all right, now we really suck. The Celtics would probably have a top 5 to 7 pick next year. And then the offseason, you have some of these players, Stephen Castle and Vassell, and these picks and all these money. You go and make a trade for a star. You go sign a star. Boom, you're right back where you're at. You're right back where you're at, but with better depth. And I trust Brad Stevens to go and make the right trades, but I kind of in like full teardown mode at this point.
If they have Fox, though, if they get Brown's a 2. So,
Jaylen Brown plays small forward on the Celtics because they run Drew Holiday, Derek White as the guards, and Jaylen Brown would play the 3, and Tatum would play the 4, and KP would be the 5.
Yeah.
Or yes. I mean, yes, Jaylen Brown can play the 2. He was drafted to be a shooting guard, but he's like 6'6", and he's a good enough defender where he plays the 3. He plays the 3 just fine.
Okay. Yeah.
And you wouldn't end with having Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox. Jaylen Brown wouldn't have to be the main ball handler. That's kind of like he's not a great ball handler. He's not a great playmaker, but he's a slasher, can create his own shot, great scorer. And you can kind of De'Aaron Fox bring it up the court and get Jaylen Brown for these highlight plays and these threes and these middies and like get him for open shots where he can knock them. And then Jaylen Brown obviously being an elite defender. But as moving in to our final discussion of the night, the Sabres, they have a lot of question marks this offseason. Will they finally go all in? Just like every offseason, there's reports that they want to and that they're talking to teams and they're really in it. But they're probably not because Kevin Adams can't overpay for anything. If it doesn't meet his value, he'd rather just suck than hypothetically lose a trade.
I don't think it's Kevin Adams' fault. I think it's Pegula.
It's both of their faults. Kevin Adams can make a trade. I mean, he might get fired for it, but anyways, I definitely think Kevin Adams. You can't not blame Kevin Adams for it. And I'm not even saying overpay money wise. I'm just saying trade wise, where you're going to make a trade, where he's like, oh, we had some trades, but it wasn't the right value. Get out of here. Like sometimes you have to overpay a little bit to go and get what you want. We have prospects and picks galore. Go overpay a little bit. In 3-4 years down the road, it may look like, we overpaid. But if we make the playoffs, I don't care. Just please, I'm the streak. But anyways, Peterka's an RFA. McLeod's an RFA. Byram's an RFA. Matthias Samuelson's making way too much money. We have, I think, like right now we're sitting at $22 million in cap space. What do you want to see them do?
Well, there's 3 things off the top of my head with just those guys. I want to keep Peterka because if we trade JJ Peterka, I might actually shoot myself because he's my favorite player. But if we get rid of JJ Peterka, I'd be really mad. And then more importantly, I want us to get rid of Bowen Byram. We have a lot of leverage with that situation. He's an RFA, so it's not like we have to trade him instantly. We can wait and field the best offers. Kevin Adams bullshit, wanting to wait for the best offer. He can actually do that and wait it out. Or he can get needy at the at the draft and go for it then, whatever he wants to do. Whatever you do, though, do not trade Bowen Byram for the 30th overall pick like I've been seeing. Everybody might go to the Flyers for like the 31st overall pick or something. I would be pissed about that unless we flip it.
I've seen reports, though, that, and I think Kevin Adams even said, this could all just be BS, that the Sabres are not interested in flipping any of these guys for futures. They want guys that can help them win now, but then again, who knows how true that is because it could be just BS that they hear every year. But anyways, continue.
Yeah, on top of that, though, another thing that I will say is important to me specifically is we need to buy out Matthias Samuelsson. And I mean that because the salary cap's going up. There's no excuses about his buyout penalty being too much. It's going to be like $800K for like 6-7 years.
10 years.
That's 10 years. Doesn't even matter. That's literally nothing when you look at the cap space. And then 5 years down the line, 800K is going to be even less than it is now. And then 10 years down the line, 800K is going to be 0.000001% of the salary cap. There's no need to care about right now 800K, especially if you want to win a championship. You just can't do that. And if you want to get into contention, you have to be able to be willing to do that. You have to realize your mistakes early on enough, like some other teams, and make it work. If the fucking Minnesota Wild could do it with buying out Zach Parise and both him and Ryan Suter, $14 million in salary cap that they were tying up to just buyout penalties for two guys for 6 years and still make the playoffs 4 out of those 6 years, the Buffalo Sabres can do it giving up $800K to Matthias Samuelsson. And the thing is, we have so much more salary cap space too. I'd love to see us get 2 players in free agency, a second-line center and a right-shot D-man, plus depth, obviously. I don't care who the depth is. But if we're looking at players I'd love to get on the
We need no forward depth. We just need a top 6. But defense depth, yes.
Yeah, I think that we should definitely go out and get, who in my opinion would be the best defenseman to go and get, Neil Pionk for the Buffalo Sabres. Love a fit with him and probably, I'd say, Dowling. Well, only because we'd probably put him on line 1 if we're going to bring him in free agency. I think we could also trade back in the draft from where we are now at 9. I think that it would make a lot of sense to trade down or even trade up, if I'm being honest. I've heard a lot of reports that we could maybe trade up with a team like the Utah Mammoth, who really like a prospect by the name of
Roger
Brady Martin. Brady Martin. I love Brady Martin. Martin's probably going to go 15 through probably like, I'd say at highest, Martin's going 12. So like a 12 through 15 range for Brady Martin. So because of that, they could trade back to 9 with us, and we could trade up to 4. That would give us a guy like James Higgins, who I would fucking absolutely love, considering he's a smaller guy, so he fits the rest of the team and what we've done. He's also going to be a perfect second-line center for the team going forward. So I wouldn't mind that, obviously, but you'd obviously have to give up something, which Bowen Byram in that trade, I wouldn't even be mad about that, because we're going to get rid of Byram anyway, and Utah desperately needs a top-pairing left-shot defenseman because they have Sergachev to play the right side. They need somebody on the left. Byram could be that guy for them. Who knows? Anyway, though, I do think you need to go get Neil Pionk. I could see us trading like pretty much a second and a third plus something next year, or even a player, like a shitty player, to move back into the first round and take somebody at the back end. I'd love to get a Logan Hensler, who's a defenseman out of the United States. I'd love to see him. I do think that he would be a pretty good fit, especially on our third pair. He could be our third guy. And then you would move up, I guess, probably Brandstrom, or sign somebody too. I could see us signing some decent guy. Maybe you put him on line 2, and then you let Clifton cook on the third line, I guess.
Well, right now, how many defensemen do you have in a contract? I think it's 6.
Yeah.
It's what we have: Dowling, Power,
Byram.
JBD. No, well, Byram's
on it. Yeah.
JBD, Clifton, and Bryson. So 5.
Samuelsson.
Oh, Samuelsson. So now we have 6 defensemen on the contract. Yeah, but
so we get rid of Samuelsson, sign Pionk. It's still 6, and then you draft him. That's 7.
Oh yeah, and then you just go sign someone to be that 7th defenseman, or maybe bring back Dennis Gilbert.
Yeah, right. I don't really care. I think that'd make it a lot better than what it is this year.
Or actually, no, you just call up Ryan Johnson, get him some legit playing time.
Yeah, I think that could work too. And then if you look at the forward positions, if we do make a trade up to go and get a player like a James Higgins, I've heard reports that James Higgins might fall to 7. If Higgins falls to 7, then if the Sabres aren't on the phones trying to trade up to 7 to go and get a guy like him, I don't know.
Be like a Benson situation where Benson was supposed to be a top like 6-7, and we got him at 13.
But I do think that it would make a lot of sense, though. I think that something, if you're looking at right now, if you're looking at the top 3 guys for the Buffalo Sabres to draft, folks, in my order, James Higgins would be number 1. That'd be a dream scenario if he falls to us. Porter Martone, who's another one. He's a big physical guy. He's 6'4", 230 pounds. That kid is an absolute menace to society. He reminds me a lot of Anthony Mantha. He's a little weak on the skating side, but he's got
I was going to say
shot,
more skilled Constant Helenas.
Yeah, I think that if you're looking at overall best player for the Sabres, Porter Martone makes a lot of sense because, he's a bigger guy. He would fit the scheme of what Lindy Ruff wants us to go to. And then obviously, more importantly, he has immense upside with a pretty high floor. So you could see that. James Higgins is more of a boomer bust guy, which don't normally go in our favor, but James Higgins is a really good prospect. In my opinion, if you look at last year, I think he goes 2. I think that he would go 2 behind Macklin last year. There were reports that he was going to be challenging Leo Carlson and Adam Fantilli last year for number 2. I do think that he would definitely be able to get in that conversation too. And so because of that, I do think that I would like James Higgins the most. Next, Porter Martone, and then lastly, Logan Hensler. Hensler is one of those right shot defenseman prospects that a lot of people aren't going to really like. I do like another guy. His name's Radim Murka. He is a
That's
Russian
the one I was
defenseman.
thinking of. Yeah, that defense.
He's not going to be a Sabre unless we trade up because one reason and one reason only. The Seattle Kraken pick at 8. The Seattle Kraken have 2 defensemen on the right side that are signed contract-wise. One of them is an AHLer, and the other guy is their third-line defenseman from last season because they traded Carson Soucy to the Vancouver Canucks, and then he was flipped to the Rangers. And so because of that, they need a right-shot defenseman desperately. And more importantly, what team did Radim Murka play for? The Seattle Thunderbirds. Bro was literally in their backyard playing hockey. There's no way they don't take him at 8. And if they don't, I will single-handedly take a flight to Seattle and smack the fuck out of the GM.
It's Jason Botterill, so I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a boneheaded move. We know from history that Botterill's a moron.
Well, yeah, but he's not on the Sabres anymore, so now he's got to be an elite guy because everybody's elite once they leave Buffalo, apparently.
Not Dylan Cousins.
It must be the fumes. Anyway, though.
It's the palm trees and the lower taxes.
I would say Hensler, bro. I'd say Hensler personally, just because we need right shot defensemen, and Merck is not going to be able to fall to us. And in a pretty weak defenseman class, I'd say Logan Hensler's still one of the better guys, and he's one of the only right shot defensemen left outside of Radim Murka. And the best part about him, you probably aren't going to see him get picked until around 18 to 20 range, depending on what Columbus is into. Because Columbus did just trade Jiricek to go and get somebody from Minnesota. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, they traded Jiricek to Minnesota, yep.
Yeah, they traded Jiricek to Minnesota, and they got somebody back, but they need a right-shot defenseman now because they traded Jiricek. So I could see them maybe taking him with their second of 2 first-round picks. Their first one's most definitely going to be like a Jackson Smith, who's a forward, something along those lines. So we'll see what happens. But
Jackson Smith and Jigbo?
No. Jackson Smith, though, is pretty good. He's Will Smith's younger brother, so that'd be pretty interesting if he does go.
Wait, which Will Smith?
The one on the Sharks.
Oh, I was thinking I wasn't even thinking him. I was
thinking the black catcher.
Well, I was thinking.
The Dodgers catcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. But no. And then I think the Sharks have a lot of interesting things they could do this draft because you got Victor Eklund, who's William Eklund's younger brother. You got Smith, who's Will Smith's younger brother. And then you got Henry Brustevich, who's his defenseman. And he is the defenseman who played on the same line as Sam Dickinson with the London Knights last year. So
you got Western New York native Quentin Musty.
Yes, sir.
Kid I went to school with. His younger brother is like really good friends with him at his grad party and stuff, and he was a first round pick, so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't he go to like Winnipeg or something? Isn't that where?
No, he went to San Jose.
Did he go to San Jose?
Yeah, pick 28 in the Bedard draft.
Also, there's a guy named Johnny Beecher who was drafted by the Boston Bruins, and he's from my hometown, Elmira. I played hockey with him growing up. So.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We always lost to him, but he's a cool dude. He's cool.
Well, he makes sense, but
bro's nasty.
Shocker.
But if you're looking at this draft, though, if you're looking at everything I think the Sabres need, I think you need to absolutely ace the draft. If you don't draft one of those 3 guys and you draft somebody still, I view this draft as an absolute fail. I think there's only 4 possibilities here for the Sabres. Draft Logan Hensler because you need defensemen. Take a swing on a player like Porter Martone, who I think has high upside, who's low. And then trade the pick potentially. And then lastly, James Higgins if you want to trade up. So those are the 4 things I'd say for the draft. And then the only 2 players I'd really like us to see for I don't know who you would say for second line center. Just somebody in free
Yeah,
agency, a second line
I,
center,
yeah,
and then
I'll
Neil
get.
Pionk.
All right. For me, want to know how I view this draft? It is a failure if we draft someone at pick 9. If it is traded for, I'm kidding, but like my number one thing I want us to do with pick 9 is trade it for someone who is already in the NHL. Yes, I wouldn't be upset like Porter Montone or Merca, James Hagens. Those guys are all studs, or even Roger McQueen. Like there's some really good guys in this class, and I wouldn't be upset if we ended with one of them. But we already have enough of those guys. We already have Noah Ostlund and Constantine Helena sitting there waiting to come up. And even if we get one of those right shot defensemen, they're not going to be NHL ready. Defensemen take longer to develop. They're not really going to be NHL ready probably for a couple of years or be quality NHL players for a couple of years. We need players now because we need to make the playoffs now, or Dahlin and Tuch and Tage and these older veterans are going to be like, screw this, trade me, and we're going to be 2020 all over again. Like, I'm not saying they want out right now, but they're definitely disgruntled. They definitely don't want to keep losing. And if they keep losing, they have all of the right to want out, because why would you want to just shit on a team that's going to continue to lose and not try to win now? Like, they're in their primes. They wouldn't want to waste it. So I get it. And like a year or two, if we're 2 years down the road, it's 16 years straight of missing the playoffs. Tage and Dahlin say trade me. I would not be surprised. It would make total sense. I would, if I was them, I'd be like, trade me also. Like, but so I wouldn't hate those players. It's just I really want us to trade and be really aggressive this year, getting some veterans. Byram, there's really no scenario where I'd be happy to see Byram come back. He's not even a bad player, just a bad fit, unless he takes some like crazy cheap deal. Like
or Owen Power gets traded for an absolute haul.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's but that's probably not going to happen. The Owen Power, I doubt gets traded. But yeah, if there's some crazy trade out there, yes. And then Byram, if he takes like a crazy bridge pay cut deal, like a 3-year by 5, I'd be fine with that because of how cheap it is. And then we can still go get another defenseman. You put Byram back with Dahlin and someone with power, because I wouldn't be upset with that, but the money he wants, no, I'd rather just go and get a defenseman. McLeod, please bring him back. He is very vital. He's the perfect third-line center. And Peterka, I was on the same boat as you. Don't trade him under any circumstances. And I'm not saying trade him now, but there are definitely scenarios where I'd be pretty happy trading Peterka.
I've seen a lot of teams teams really want him badly, and they're willing to trade a fuck ton for him.
I've seen talks where Chicago would be willing to give up pick 3 deal. Or
I don't think that happens personally.
Again,
go on.
Yes, I'm just saying things I've seen.
Yeah,
you put him in a deal to get Noah Dobson, done. You flip him to why?
Noah Dobson's a left shot defenseman. He's the same it's the same situation as Byram.
Really? I swear when I Googled him, it said right shot.
Hold on, I'll look it up. Continue talking though.
I'm pretty because I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, we don't need another left shot. I'm pretty sure Noah Dobson's a right shot defenseman. But anyways, like Dobson, deal. If he's a right shot, which I think he is.
Apparently he is.
He's a right shot? Yeah. So Noah Dobson, done deal. Obviously, we have to give up other. Marco Rossi, if there was like some sort of flip there. If Peterka's disgruntled and he isn't very happy here or whatever, and we're able to flip him in a deal to get Marco Rossi, fine with that. But if we are to trade Peterka and we don't end up with either trading for someone of equal value in a Byram deal with picks and prospects to get, or signing Brock Besser or Ehlers, then I'd be really mad. But if we are to trade Peterka for certain packages and then we go and either flip Byram plus prospects and a pick or this, that, and the third and go and get a good replacement for him, or we go and sign Brock Besser or Nikola Ehlers, then I'd be pretty happy because those guys we'd be getting someone of similar value, they're similar as good as Peterka, and then we'd be going and getting whatever we got Peterka for. So again, I'm not, yeah. Or you save this cap space and you go and give Mitch Marner as much money as you possibly can. You give him a blank check. You give him season tickets to the Bills for the rest of his life. You do the meeting in the new Bills stadium with Josh Allen sitting in the room saying, giving him
Get your
sweet
ass
nothings
over.
and saying whatever needs to be. Have Haley Steinfeld there. Have every prominent person that's ever been in the city of Buffalo. Legit, you pull out all of the stops and you bring Mitch Marner here like we did in 2014 when we wanted Mario Williams, when the Sabres were, or the Bills were in their big drought. They went out and they got that big player in Mario Williams. Yeah, we never made the playoffs with him, but those teams were pretty close. If we had a quarterback who wasn't an idiot or a retard, and like EJ Manuel and Kyle Orton, they would have been a playoff team in those Mario Williams-led defenses. So, like, I think there are paths where I'd be fine or happy with trading Peterka. But at the same time, I'm not saying trade him for nothing. Like, Peterka's a great player. If these things don't work out and we bring him back, I'd be pretty happy too. I'm just not in the camp of we have to bring him back. I field out the offers. Byram, yeah, you're gone. And then an underrated thing I've been seeing lately, someone was talking about us going after Thatcher Demko. I'd love that too. If we hypothetically traded for him, then we were able to get out of UPL's contract. And then you go and sign someone.
To get out of UPL's contract for me to be okay with the Demko deal, though,
but
because Demko's going into the final year of his contract.
Well, this is my thought. If you get out of UPL's deal, you get Demko for the year. That's a clear upgrade. And then leave Levi down in the AHL. I don't want to see Levi this year. I think give him the Ryan Miller treatment. I think Ryan Miller, like 2.5 or 3 years down in the AHL. Dustin Wolf just did the same thing. You saw when he came up, he almost single-handedly carried Calgary to the playoffs. You go and get some veteran backup or whatever, and you have Thatcher or Demko, and that backup be your pairing, maybe like a Jake Allen or something like that. And then next year, maybe you sign Jake Allen like a 2-year deal. Next year, you let Demko walk. You bring Levi up. Those are your 2 goalies. Then the year after that, then hopefully by then Levi develops into a franchise guy that we can be a workhorse on and be a 60 game starting. You just get a veteran backup so we're not wearing them out. So I saw that, just thought I'd give an interesting take on that. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of paths the Sabres can go, but as long as they are aggressive and improving now and getting rid of Mattias Samuelsson, if Mattias Samuelsson is still in this team next year, I'm going to put my fist through a wall. As you've seen, I hate him. I did have a 10-minute rant one time where I probably used about 50 different swear words to describe how much I hated him. Luckily, that video never made it up. I could have gotten in some trouble because, again, I hate him. I don't know if you know this, but I hate him. He is by far my least favorite player on this team. He sucks, and he's got...
Should have got Joe Samuelson jersey for your birthday.
I would have ripped it up, pissed on it, and burned it.
Burned it at the fire?
Exactly. So please get him off my team. I don't hate him as a person. I just absolutely despise him as a player. But with that being said, I hope you guys all have a great night. That is all we have for you today. We will be back next week, either talking more NHL, NBA offseason. We might get into some MLB. We'll kind of see what news breaks over the next week.